Okay, I think that's working. How do I know if it is working? Give me 2 minutes, guys. Okay, I think it is working. Anyways, okay. So in the last class, we discussed about the third unit in our literature book, that was His First Flight by Liam O'Flaherty. And we discussed the summary and the theme associated with that chapter or with that lesson. And we can see that, our man, the young seagull, was actually afraid to fly. He was afraid of the heights. He was afraid of, and he lacked confidence. He when his brothers and sister flew before him, and when he witnessed those uh, their first flight, he was actually very sad and depressed and scared. The main thing that he was scared was he did not have confidence, or he actually doubted himself whether his wings would hold him, whether when he flew, his wings were capable enough to hold him. That's one thing that actually confused, or that's actually one thing that he doubted about himself. Even though flying is a natural instinct in birds, for example, in humans, if it is walking, it is natural instinct for a bird to fly. So even though it was a natural instinct for the birds to fly, our young seagull was very, very scared to do that. The main reasons for that was he lacked confidence, and he was very scared of the vast expanse of sea that was under him. And he was also scared of the sea because he did not knew what the sea felt like, what water feels like. He sees sea, or he compares sea somewhat similar to land. He thinks that if he fly and lands on the sea, he might die. So we can understand that he was scared of the sea beneath him. And like we discussed, he even doubted whether his wings could hold his weight when he flew. And rather than overcoming his fear, what he did was he confined to his fears, and he stayed on that ledge, or he stayed on that plateau. And his family tried their best to encourage and motivate him to fly, but um, all their efforts were went in vain, because he was very, very scared, and he did not try to overcome his fears. Finally, what his family did was they started to avoid him, and they started taunting him, calling him coward, and all those inappropriate words, just to encourage, or like I mentioned in the last class, it's called as reverse psychology. So sometimes, it's we can refer this in Bible, like when Adam and Eve was first in the Eden garden. Not Jesus, God told him not to eat that fruit, and we did the exact opposite. We ate that fruit. So that's kind of a reverse psychology. So that's what his family tried to do with the young seagull, but even that did not prosper. Then we can see that his mother did something very extraordinary. She took a fish, a bite of a fish. Since he was hungry, he was calling out his mom, and his mom took a bite of a fish and went, or flew to him, and gave him the fish. But right at the moment when she was about to give him that fish, she stopped, and he actually leaped to get that fish because he was so hungry. We can see that when we read the chapter, he was hungry for over 24 hours. And just imagine us being humans to be hungry for over 24 hours. Yeah, we might act a little crazy if we stay hungry for more than 24 hours. So this guy, our young seagull, was very, very sad, and he was so hungry that he called out his mom, and his mom came with the fish, and she stopped right in front of him, which made him leap to the fish, and that made him airborne, and he spread his wings and he started flying. That's when he understood that flying is a very natural instinct for him. And he soon forgot about the last 24 hours of his life, where he was scared of flying, and where he was scared of falling into the sea. And finally, he went and he started to fly, and all his family members started to come and encourage him. And finally, they went into the sea. And even then, at the end of the story, we understand him that he while he approached sea, he tried to land on the sea, but his legs sank in. That shows that he didn't know what sea or water felt like, and because of which he was scared, and he even doubted whether he will sink down into the sea. But he quickly learns that he has the ability to float on the sea, because seagulls can do that. So this is the summary of this chapter, and I just want to introduce the theme as well, and then we will go to the breakout room and do the discussion. Okay, so the theme of the story revolves around the idea that one should bravely face their fears and never give up. Okay, so I've given some instances from my life as well. You might also have some references from your life when you learned how to cycle, or how to cook, or some other things that you've learned in your life which you were initially scared of, but when you learned, you understood, see, it's not that difficult. The next theme in this lesson is courage and self-confidence. Courage and self-confidence. um, it's very essential that we trust ourselves, and we have that self-confidence, or self-esteem, because if we don't have that self-esteem, we might not be able to overcome our fears. And one other theme of this particular lesson is the best way to overcome your fear is by facing your fears, rather than ignoring those fears and leaving it for some other time in future. The best way to overcome a fear is facing it. If you're afraid of swimming, the best way to overcome that fear is swimming. There's no other way to overcome that fear. So just like that with anything in life. And necessity is the mother of invention, but it sometimes needs an initial spark from outside. That means, so see, so situations and circumstances, that is what leads us to certain decisions, or certain situations. And sometimes we need an external support from people. For example, in our young seagull's life, it was the support from his mother that helped him to take that leap, even though he did not do it himself, or even though he did not do it with courage. It was a mistake, but he learned something very significant about life. So this is what we discussed in the last class. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to send you all to breakout rooms to discuss the question and answers in this particular chapter.